Yes, sir.
I think I want to correct you on your crime statistics.
Go ahead.
It has nothing to do with the reduction in crime, has nothing to do with the cops.
Okay.
And the issue of stop and frisk, I don't think you monitored lately, but I did with Fernando Ferrer. And the credit comes to the Jonquil public since cell phones became so active. The police are responding to much more calls of a neighbor calling from 6A saying the 6B is the quality of life issue. They show up there, there's 6 guys hanging out in the lobby. Each one of them is put against the wall. One of them is selling drugs. So what are you going to say? One of them is selling drugs, but everybody's against the wall. You stop and frisk 6 people, and that's how you're on a percentage or statistics. Are you trying to respond to statistics that 10%, there's a gynecologist who walked into his waiting room, and there were 9 women in the room, 1 woman was pregnant. He comes out, he says, on average, each of you are 1 month pregnant. 8 of them wanted to kill him. You can't work with statistics that way. But the fact of the matter is, crime and the way it is in stop and frisk has a lot to do with the way the cops respond on cell phone calls that has nothing to, no crime was committed. It's a quality of life issue. That's number one. Second of all, I basically did not follow your 121 plan that you have, but I'm kind of interested if it comes to crime, basically if you can be more defined what your entire agenda
Let me
just finish that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me make some notes then.
CHETE, and you'll be able to get it very easy.
No, I'm just want to.
CHETE, and I'll give you the whole rundown. You can respond because I think it's crime, it's housing, education, transportation, and economy.
Okay. Well, let me do first thing about statistics. First of all, what you described is not a stop and frisk. Someone calls someone and says, come to my apartment, I've got a crime going on in my building, that's a stop and frisk refers to the Fourth Amendment constitutionally defined ability of police officers. When they have a reasonable suspicion that a crime has just been committed, or as a crime is imminently about to be committed, they have a right to stop them. That's stop and frisk. What is happening now is people are being stopped just for walking down the street. They fill out the 250, the cop fills out the 250, his form, he writes furtive movement, and he says, oh, stop and frisk. So if the standard is reasonable suspicion a crime has been committed, and 95% of the time no crime has been committed, your suspicion is wrong. So it's kind of like having a cop that fires his gun 10 times and 9.5 out of 10 times he misses his target. You wouldn't say that's a good cop. You'd say that's a cop who's not doing his job very well. He needs to be retrained. He needs to be taught how to use that gun. That's the problem. Now, I'll tell you, you're right. You can't only base it on statistics. Let me tell you this. You know how you can reduce crime 100%? 100%. Eliminate it. Every single person that walks down the street gets stopped and frisked. Now, is that the kind of city we want to live in? Is that the kind of country we want to live in? Is that the kind of city our Constitution permits us to live in? The answer is no. You are right, though, in your premise. There are a lot of things that are leading crime to go down, although it's starting to go back up again. A lot of things that are leading crime to go down that have nothing to do with the police. There are a lot more communities who are now saying, you know what, I got a lot to protect here. I'm going to start protecting it a little bit more. I'm going to start as a citizen, starting to be more active myself, not just leaving the police to do it. There's technology things that are improving left and right. There's no doubt about that. But there's one thing that is true, is that there are too many stops. Now the city admits it. The community's known it forever. A judge is going to make a decision on it. You can't say, okay, you can ignore the numbers. It just works out that way. You can have, I mean, they're using it as a deterrent, and that's not what reasonable suspicion is supposed to be. And about my crime proposals, a couple of things. One, reduce the number of police officers and RMPs. The number of emergency calls is actually down. Having cars zooming around is not nearly as good as having a guy who you know, you're a beat cop, who knows, who learns the community, who gets to know you.
The way it used to be.
The way it used to be. Secondly, I think we've got to do some things that help law enforcement. Little lapel cameras for the police, so they can show the procedure was correct, protects them from having charges against them of roughing up a drug dealer, and so the drug dealer winds up going free. It's in use in other police departments. Dramatic reduction in tensions, increase in conviction rates, because now you don't just have it on the dashboard of your car, which is now commonplace, but you've got it right here on your lapel. Third thing that I would do, we've got to get cops doing non-cop things. How many times have you guys been in the city and you see cops on barrier duty, putting up barriers for parades? Guys with badges and guns. There is so much work that's being done in the police department right now that actual cops don't need to do. I propose have retired cops come in and do that. You still need to know what you're doing, but you don't need an actual cop. Fourth thing that we should do is we have to be much more vigilant on some elements of terrorism. We should have bomb-proof cans on our train platforms. They have them in Grand Central, but they don't have them in, that make the explosion of a bomb go north rather than go out. These are things that are state-of-the-art in other places, like Eretz Israel. We should have them in New York City.
It's invented in Israel.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. I think that we should no longer allow helicopter commuter or tourist helicopter rides overland in New York City. You know, because of the airspace, because we have so many airports here, they are limited on how high they can go. Do you know how close they're allowed to get by law to a building? There's no minimum. If they wanted to fly over and land on the MetLife building, they could. I think there's no reason why tourists have to be over Brooklyn or over Manhattan Island. They can stay out over the water, look at the Statue of Liberty, be over the, point out things on the skyline. There's no reason they have to be over. These are just some of the innovative new ideas that I've got that no other campaign is talking about.